talking about people making a name for themselves. BTS, dude. Tell the people what BTS's most recent record, Love Yourself Answer, has done.
Yeah, so BTS, K-pop outfit, who have been buzzing online, buzzing in the East for a minute now, but I thought they really hit a new level and really got onto my radar earlier this year when their record, what was it,
Love Yourself
Tear, dropped at the end of May, and it was the number one album on the Billboard 200 here in the U.S. 135,000 equivalent units, which was obviously their best debut in the States, but more importantly, the first K-pop act to top the chart over here, and just the overall top charting Asian act in the U.S. So definitely historic, and definitely a sign that they were permeating over here. And they followed that up recently with this new music. It makes sense to keep putting this out. And this new album, which we're talking about, it's more of a compilation of older songs from last year plus some new ones. But the new single, Idol, broke the YouTube record for most streams in a 24-hour period, beating out Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do, the new record with 45 million streams in 24 hours, which is absurd. Because obviously, while BTS is gigantic, they're not selling over 1 million records first week like Taylor Swift's Reputation did.
Right.
But the fact that the BTS army is such a dedicated fandom that they could, get this record.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, and just really, waves the flag for anyone who wasn't paying attention that K-pop is a lot different now, and a really viable commercial force. So what did you think, like, listening to them for the first time?
Well, it's interesting because I heard them performing Idol because I just ended up watching the last 30 minutes of the MTV Music Awards. So maybe it was the last hour or so, but they actually performed there, which I thought was really cool to see a K-pop band, performing on MTV, another indication of their arrival. And listen to the record. It's very, it's an interesting mix of pretty standard pop with hip hop in it, and obviously that's highlighted by Nicki remixing and being featured on Idol at the end of the album. Just kind of reading about these guys and seeing their rise, I think the thing I admire most about them is just how they've basically taken the road less traveled, and that's actually elevated them to the next level of stardom in K-pop, which I wasn't as aware of how big this was, that it's been really dominating pop outside of pretty much the UK and America. K-pop has been the biggest force in pop for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we all remember Psy briefly
right,
dominated with Gangnam Style. But yeah, BTS is interesting because they're different than a lot of these K-pop acts that started popping up in the 90s, because they were not just a total label creation, right? They actually seem like real artists who have real interests. They're presenting their actual selves in the band, and that's kind of what's endearing to their fandom, which is you got to respect that. And to your point about the music itself, I did think, well, most of the production felt pretty samey, pretty homogenous, felt like a handful of sessions, that they had a vibe they were going for. I didn't think there was a fair amount of variation of the types of songs they made, even if they sounded different, which was pretty cool. You mentioned the hip hop influences. The frontman RM, that used to stand for Rap Monster. He's actually pretty interesting because he's he's fluent in English, and he does most of the lead in their interviews. And he's obviously actually a pretty capable rapper. I'd like to even hear more of that. But other than that, they didn't localize all their stuff. They didn't make an English language album. There's Korean stuff, and they even tried Japanese albums before, but I think they're moving away from that.
Yeah, it fell flat.
So it's just interesting to see that, because Japanese video games and anime, that gets localized. That's the only way it really gets consumed here in the West. Every anime gets dubbed, and all the Japanese games get subtitled, dubbed as well, or new voice acting, right? So the fact that in music you don't actually have to do that here. You don't have to record it in a new language. You can just put it out, and it's something. And we talked about 88 Rising recently with their Head in the Clouds label album, and Rich Brian's Amen earlier in the year. And they're another similar small outfit, and Big Hit Entertainment, they're the label behind BTS, and they were brand new. They're like,
Right.
like
A startup,
so
basically.
they came up. So
I,
it's a whole very interesting scene. You know, I think Jay Park is another name I've been paying attention to. He's like, I think he's 30, 31, but
mhm.
he's a Korean dude who signed to Rock Nation last year and dropped a rap EP this summer after being more of an R&B artist. Um, so just in between him and BTS, obviously, all the other K-pop acts that are popping and 88 Rising, I mean, it just seemed like Asian artistry is really, you know, having a moment, and I think was continuing to make inroads here in the West, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I think the a really interesting piece that you kind of talked about, like the localization versus what BTS is kind of known as like narrative, because a lot of their albums kind of flow together or have like a story behind them. It's kind of like how the artistry is shifting in different directions, and both have successes. Someone like uh, was it named Blackpink, I think, who
Yes.
almost broke the Taylor Swift streaming record with her release Doo Doo, which I love the name. I think earlier this
It's a
year.
pretty good song.
I haven't checked it out, but when I was reading, I was like, damn, like it's amazing to see like how these two different kind of ways of making music are still pumping it out, and it feels like there's almost going to be like a battle between like what's like the right way. And obviously they both can exist, we talk about that all the time, but it just is really interesting to see if it's going to be this formulaic way, or if they're going to let the artistry kind of play out, which BTS has obviously done. I think they're here to stay, dude. Like, they are enormous right now.
Oh yeah, I want to see what these first week numbers are for Love Yourself Answer, just because they're continuing to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and each one of them is so famous. I mean, and they're doing bigger numbers than One Direction ever did. You know, if we're thinking like the boy band angle, so they're gigantic. So I mean, I don't know. I just want to see where this goes, because it's a 7-member group. You know, how long will they stay together? But
Right.
so
Yeah.
successful.
That was the thing I was thinking, is someone like RM, who is fluent in Korean and English. I mean, he has the potential to be just an enormous star, like Harry Styles on like steroids almost.
Sure.
So, any songs other than Idol that you liked from the album?
Yeah, I thought Her was pretty cool. Like I'm Fine, Euphoria,
Yeah, Euphoria stood out to me.
and again, like neither me nor you, we don't understand Korean, obviously, but I feel like this is well made pop music that you can still listen to and jam out to, and you know, I don't know, follow along, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they do mix in some English here and there, but yeah, kind of like Higher Brothers, I guess, from 88 Rising. It's like I don't need to totally understand everything to get the vibe.
Yeah, it was perfect music. When I was doing my second listen today, to be sitting down at work and have it in the background, just like a mood booster and something that kept me kind of going and tuning in and out throughout the day. So definitely check that out, and give us your feedback. Leave a comment. If you like BTS, or if you for some reason do not like them, we want to hear from you and engage in this discussion.